what I'm typing.
Okay.
Okay. Can
Everyone
everyone hear me?
Do I need
to speak louder,
Paula?
Paula?
You have to unmute your machine now.
I did unmute.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Steve can hear me.
I can hear you too.
Okay. So this is McCutcheon High School and Mayflower Mill grade school. There are a couple of areas that could possibly work for a WEX system. They are close to houses, however, so people might consider it to be an eyesore. No, I can't go forward or back. There we go. Here's Harrison High School. It does have a larger area up here where a windmill could be located, but again, it is next to several houses, subdivision to the north. Here's, Jefferson High School and Tecumseh Middle School. Not a whole lot of area, although maybe up by the old Pythian home, up in this area. Here's West Lafayette High School. There's absolutely no place that they could put a wind turbine. Cumberland Grade School. Pretty much no available place there, and it is also surrounded by residential. So here's Cole Elementary School. This would be the test site if TSC gets this amendment passed. This is where they would like to give it a whirl, see how it works. There are a couple of areas up in this area, and the whole front of the property would be available. It's out far in the country, so it would get good wind possibilities. Here's Earhart School, which I include because my kids went there. Not a whole lot of area there, just a little bit on the front and a little bit here in the back. But being in the city, I doubt there's enough wind to justify it. And here's Wea Ridge School. This is the last slide I've got for schools. This is the one that city council members were mostly concerned about because the city is planning to build a water tower in this area right here. And the council has received several complaints about the water tower being an eyesore from residents to the west. So I think that's why they're a little bit leery about allowing windmills to possibly locate on a property like this, that they would get a lot more complaints from neighbors. So here's some possible tweaks to the amendment. We could allow the amendment only in the unincorporated county. That would eliminate Lafayette schools and West Lafayette schools. Although it still would include Wea Ridge because that is in the county. I believe all the TSC schools are in the county. So another possibility would be to only allow them at schools and not institutional uses in general. This was an idea that was talked about at the last ordinance committee meeting. we don't really need to include police stations, fire stations, nursing homes. Since TSC is the agency that's interested in these, let's just allow them at schools and leave off all those other uses. Another possibility would be to just allow them at elementary schools, colleges, and universities. That still would not solve the Wea Ridge problem. Or we could create a larger setback from existing residences. So those are possible tweaks to the amendment. This will be discussed at our July Ordinance Committee meeting. If anyone has any ideas or feedback, I would be, it'd be great to hear that.
Kathy, can you go ahead and mute for a second?
I think in town, they would look really bad.
All right. So Gene, thank you for that comment. I noticed you also posted several in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and go through those. So it looks like Kathy addressed this first one a little bit regarding setbacks, but Gene asks, how much noise does the windmill and air movement make, since they will only be about 100 feet from someone's property line?
I believe our zoning ordinance
Kathy, you're muted.
addresses
You're
that.
muted.
There are some noise
You're
limits.
muted. You're muted.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're going to have to switch back and forth.
Hello.
I'm back. I believe our zoning ordinance addresses noise. There are limits.
And I don't have my ordinance in front of me right now, but there are certain decibel limits that they could not go beyond.
I think that's measured at the property line, isn't it, Kathy, if I
That
remember right?
is correct.
Yes.
I should get my ordinance out.
All right, can you mute again while I go through the next question? Then we'll just kind of mute.
Oh.
All right, thank you, Kathy. So then the next question from Gene was about if have pieces of a blade or windmill flown off of a windmill.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the honest answer.
All right, he's got one more. Two more. But one of them you already answered. Okay, so the next question we have is, with the close proximity of the windmill and blade movement, will there be interference with radio, satellite, or voice communication signals?
Our zoning ordinance also addresses that.
And I'm sorry, I don't have my zoning ordinance with me tonight, so, but I know that there is a whole section on that they may not interfere with radio signals and other electronic devices.
All right, so this was kind of already answered by Kathy. Gene does ask, are there noise limits on the windmills? Which, yes, there are, but just to reiterate, there are some noise limits. All right, does anybody else have any questions for Kathy? If so, the floor is open to you at this time. All right, I'm not seeing anything in our chat in our GoToMeeting here, so I'm gonna move on then to our next agenda item, which is an update on our thoroughfare plan. So, kind of to recap for those that may not have been here. The current thoroughfare plan that we have is pretty outdated. So we're in the process of trying to rework that so it works better. Kind of what we're doing is we're going from a 2-step process to a 3-step process. We went over this in detail at our last meeting. If anyone does have any questions about that, maybe you weren't there or you'd like to talk to me about that personally, more than happy to do that. But I don't think there's much value in just going ahead and repeating what we talked about at the last meeting. But I will say this, just by way of an update. We are in the process of working on the third component of the plan update, which is to look at not only the design standards that would be required for new roads, new development along those roads, but putting together what we call a classification map for each different road in the county. So kind of just the way to think about that would be that, you know, Sagamore Parkway is a much different road, you know, than a small road in a subdivision, right? So they need to have different standards applied to them when a project is built there. So we're going through that, and we have a draft version of that map that we're circulating around to our staff that I'm hoping they will give us some comments on, and then at that point, it will be kind of go through the process. We will review it with the local engineers, with some of our partners in the development community, and hopefully by next meeting we should have something to present to you guys for your review. So that's what we're hoping will happen with that. And in addition to that, we also have something that we're kind of going to plan to present in conjunction with that as well at our next meeting. Earlier this year, we did a sidewalk condition inventory and rating for the town of Battleground. That was to kind of go through and look at just what the current state of sidewalks is there in Battleground, to make sure, you know, that for those areas that are not in the best shape, that when the city council has some money to, or town council, excuse me, the town council has some money to apply to projects, they kind of select which areas they'd like to work on. So we hope that should be available to present at the next meeting as well. So just some kind of heads up about where we're going in the future. Any questions about either of those items that you guys would like to bring up? All right, hearing none, we're going to move to our next item on the agenda, which is the questions, comments, and suggestions. So this is kind of the time when if you guys have anything you'd like to bring to the committee's attention, now's your chance. So please go ahead, and we're listening.
I didn't get unmuted quick enough while we were on windmills, but I'd kind of like to point out that the big windmills are one way to preserve prime agricultural farmland, and that might be something that we'd be interested in, I think, in Shelby Township, northern Wabash, and some of the southern townships in the county. It's a non-regulatory way to preserve prime farmland, because nobody's going to build a subdivision under a big windmill.
Yes, thank you for that, Jim. Yeah. Yes, thank you for that, Jim. I would encourage anyone who does want some more information about that specifically to attend that ordinance committee meeting that Kathy talked about. That would kind of be a forum to really get some good information, as well as to give your input on that. So if that's an issue of interest, I would greatly encourage you to attend that meeting. If you have any questions about that, feel free to contact us, and I am more than happy to provide any information as needed. Any other questions? All right, I'm not hearing any. I'm trying to check for public comments on our streams. But we need to kind of have a little delay here, so I'm not seeing anything right now. Paula or Ari, are you seeing anything? Right. Well, we have a little bit of time here while we're waiting for the streams to catch up. I would just like to apologize for the technical difficulties that we had. No matter how many times you run meetings from here, it seems like something's always coming up with these. So we do hope by the next time we have a meeting, which will be in September, that we will either have those resolved or be able to be in a position where we're safe enough to meet in person. Are we seeing anything else that I'm missing, Paula, on the comment? All right, with that, we will go ahead and adjourn. Thank you all for attending tonight. Once again, I do apologize for the technical difficulties, and we hope that in the future it will run a little more smoothly, and our next meeting should be pretty big in terms of items we're bringing for your